This business is a nightmare. I mean, my God, why? Why didn't I listen to my parents? They told me not to get into trucking. They specifically told me to get into real estate. Should have listened to them. In this video, I'm gonna dive into the harsh realities of the trucking business. I mean, from a driver's perspective, an owner-operator's perspective, a small fleet owner's perspective, and I ain't gonna sugarcoat shit. I'm gonna tell you the way that it is. I'm gonna talk about the oversaturated trucks in the market. I'm gonna talk about the crazy interest rates that we are paying out there. In a nutshell, I'm gonna talk about why the trucking business right now is a nightmare. So let's get into it. Crazy statistics, 60% of owner-operators and small fleet owners will fail within their first 3 years in business. That's the stats in the US. In Canada, 45% of trucking companies and owner-operators will fail within their first 3 years. And I actually think the stats are a little bit higher than that. So I think it's, the stats that I see, or the people that walk in, or the people that buy their own trucks, or the people that I consult, it's really tough out there. What's going on over the years that our industry is becoming harder and harder and harder to work in. Well, who am I and what in the world do I know about trucking? So I've been operating ET Transport. I've been running ET Transport now for 18 years, and I've been an advocate for drivers for about 4 years ever since I started this channel. My father was a truck driver and an owner operator, so I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows. I've been the son of a truck driver. I saw him lose it all. I saw him gain it all. I've had good days and bad days. And for the last 18 years, I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs. Over 500,000 followers across our platforms and over 40 million views. I also run 3 terminals, so Concord, Ontario, Moncton, New Brunswick, and recently Atlanta, Georgia. I think my content has some value out there. All right, so where do I start? Why in the world does our industry suck? Well, for number one, the freight rates are extremely low right now. Okay, what do I mean by that? So I think we just finished off the month at $2.05 per mile. In all honesty, I mean, whether you're an owner operator or a small fleet owner, I mean, that's not enough. Maybe it's enough for a survival game. Maybe it's enough, it's like you're pressing a full gas in neutral. You're really not going anywhere. You're really not moving. You can see the news and the bankruptcies and the videos that I do about bankruptcies. Every month there's 3-4 new companies going under, and we just finished July, and again, there's 3-4 companies that went under. And they're not small companies. I mean, these are, I would say, probably medium-sized carriers that are going under, and brokerage companies that are going under. I mean, there's a huge change right now and shift in our industry, and it's more of a survival game. I can honestly say that, nobody's making money right now. I mean, making money like we did 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, no, it's not like that right now. In the last, I would say, even pre-COVID, COVID, and then post-COVID, there's been a huge shift in interest rates. I mean, we used to finance all these trucks, these trailers. I mean, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars. We used to finance them at probably around 3.25%, 3.5%, 3.75%. I mean, today I think we're financing probably at around 6% interest rate, maybe 5.9%. Owner operators are financing equipment at 10%, 11%, 12%. I mean, we're talking about homeowners. We're talking about people with good credit. That really makes a huge difference in your payments, and your cash flow is stranded. An owner-operator, I mean, the difference between 12% and 6% or 7% could be a difference of paying for his truck $3,000. If the interest rates were a lot lower, it could be a difference of $2,400 or $2,500. I mean, $500 a month. It makes a big difference, especially when you have a larger fleet. All right, the third reason why this business sucks, it's carriers growing at a extremely rapid pace. So I've seen carriers start off with 10 power units, 20 power units, and somehow over 2-3 years, you see that they are a carrier with 200-300 power units. I see that in Canada, and I also see that a lot more of that in the US. And it's mind-boggling to me. It's how in the world do you increase your fleet size from 40 power units to 300 power units over the course of 3 years? I mean, I know what I've done in 18 years, and I didn't have rich parents, and everything that I made I saved, and then when I saved, then I can allow myself to buy 5-6 more trucks, and then you run another year, and then you save a little bit more and you buy yourself 10 more trucks. And I just don't know how they're doing it. Maybe maybe the banking system in the US just has an open open hand and just gives out money, but that's not natural growth for sure. Having 50 power units, 100 power units, 200, 300 power units, and you see that across multiple companies like that. And I feel like, the competition, there's definitely too many trucks in the market, and slowly, I mean, it's really impacting the owner operators for sure, and it's also impacting other trucking companies. I mean, the competition is huge. When we go into manufacturing plants and bid on their freight, there's 15 or 20 other carriers there that are bidding on the exact same freight. Sometimes, you win certain lanes, and sometimes you just can't compete with certain lanes. And sometimes I think to myself is, how in the world are people running at these rates? And I just can't, it doesn't match up to me. I mean, maybe they're running their operation at a lot lower cost than I am. Let's not forget the cost of insurance. I mean, my God, I mean, I started this in 2005. I was in my early 20s. I remember the days where the insurance was $900 a truck per month. I mean, you would be able to bind into an insurance policy for just about $10,000 or $11,000 is what we would pay. 5-7 years ago, I think it was maybe $12,000 a year, $13,000 a year. Today, you're not getting into this market without paying $24,000 or $26,000 a year to insure one truck. So the cost has definitely, we're not billing more. I mean, the freight rates are not climbing. The way that they were 5-7 years ago is the same rates that they are right now, but just the cost of running a trucking company or the cost of being an owner operator is, you know, is through the roof. Insurance is just one of the points. I mean, there's a lot more things. I mean, we pay a lot more for rent. We pay a lot more for outdoor storage. I mean, the rates have just quadrupled, but the trucking rates, the freight rates have not quadrupled or doubled or even $2.05 a joke right now on the open market. All right, so I mean, these beautiful babies, the cost of equipment. I mean, whatever happened to the days when we used to buy a trailer for $25,000? I mean, I remember those days. 25, 30 was like pushing it. Today, brand new equipment, the cost of brand new equipment has almost doubled. Today, a dry van is probably $50,000. A flatbed is $75,000. We order all of our Conestoga roll tight kits from Verdun Tarps. We love the company and they do a great job with our roll tight system, our Conestogas. But cost of equipment has significantly gone up over the last, 10 years, 5 years. I mean, post-COVID, and it's not going down. The manufacturing plants have really increased their rate. Trucks. I remember my first truck that I bought in 2005. I remember the bill of sale. It was $126,000. It was a Volvo. That was the first truck that I ever bought, $126,000. Today, you're looking, it's about 18 years later, I know you're buying Volvos probably for $226,000, $236,000. Those are Canadian prices. The US is probably around $180,000, $190,000. But still, the cost has gone up significantly. Now, I don't see, if I look at the numbers for freight rates back in 2005 and 6, I don't see that the freight rates have doubled. They have not doubled. The fuel has gotten more expensive, the equipment has gotten more expensive, the flatbeds have gotten more expensive, the trailers, the trucks, and the parts, everything has gotten more expensive, but our freight rates haven't. Guys, I'm just going on and complaining about our business. I mean, the video is about why the business sucks. So I'm here to just, let loose and tell you all the that we have in our industry. And it's not just from a small fleet owner perspective. This is an owner-operator's perspective also, because I deal with a lot of owner-operators and they are suffering from the same thing that I am. Let's talk about labor rates for shop. What happened to the days of $65 and $75 an hour? And it was not too long ago, it was 10, 12 years ago, shop rates were $65, $75 an hour. I remember that when they climbed to over $100 an hour, I was like, oh my God, this is never going to last. And then it got to $115 an hour, $125 an hour, $135 an hour, $145. Now I see shop rates at, Freightliners and Volvos, $165 is standard across the board. Sometimes you get the 175s and 185s, and I've even seen as high as 195, and I'm like, my God, where are we headed to, and who in the world can afford all this? The trucking companies definitely cannot afford it, that's for sure. They are making their money from the owner-operators and from the guys that have the 1 or 2 trucks because they can't afford to open up their shops. They are the ones suffering the most. It's like it's a system that's been created to eliminate the small guys, and not just the small guys. I mean, the bigger guys are going under left, right, and center, and you can see just in the last 3-4 months, I can name 10 or 15 different companies that went under. And it's still not getting better. It really isn't. The freight rates are not starting to climb up. I mean, eventually, as a lot of people come out, the rates will start slowly going up. We have all the crooks and the scammers in our industry. And the crooks, from the finance companies to the dealerships, the markup on the trucks that they try to do is just use trucks. The mechanic shops, for sure. If I go into a mechanic shop, I wouldn't know the difference if it was a turbo failure or if fuse was missing. The mechanic can definitely charge me for a turbo when it was just a fuse, and I myself personally would not know the difference. My team would definitely know the difference, but I wouldn't. But I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that is happening in mechanic shops and ripping off owner-operators and billing extra hours. It's just a lot of fraud is happening in our industry. Are we going to get into freight brokers in this video? No, because I could probably talk hours and hours about freight brokers, their role, and the stuff that they pull off in our industry. And mind me, not all freight brokers are like that, but there's definitely a lot of, just like there are a lot of bad carriers, there's also a lot of freight brokers out there. And the last thing I'm going to touch on why our business sucks or why we've gotten to where we are today is because the value of a truck driver has significantly decreased over the years. I would say in every other industry, the value is starting to go up. So the value for a plumber has significantly risen over the last 5-10 years. The value for an electrician has gone up. The value of a truck driver, unfortunately, it has gone down and significantly gone down. And I really blame the fact of how easy it is to get a driver's license. When you're new to the industry, you're loving the fact that you can get a license within a couple of months. But when you're in the industry, you start understanding of how bad that is for our industry and how this industry is pumping out drivers left, right, and center. And as many as drivers are coming in, there's also drivers leaving our industry. And that's really the biggest problem within our industry, is how easy it is for somebody to become a truck driver, and the value of a truck driver, you know, it's not going up. 55 cents, 65 cents, I've been hearing this for years, and drivers are not getting paid more. And you know why they're not getting paid more than that? Is because they keep pumping out new drivers through these driving schools. So this industry is horrible. It really is. I mean, in a nutshell. But what can you do? I mean, we're in it and we're gonna grind through it and we're gonna continue with it. I really hope that there will be change in our industry. That's really the point of these channels, is to be an advocate for you guys out there, for truck drivers. And yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, I love what I do. Should I have listened to my parents and gone into construction and, you know, and real estate? Maybe. But again, I love our industry, even with all the garbage and even with all the crap that you know, we're all suffering from, and even with these significantly highs and significantly lows. You know, I'm Ronen, and what can I say? I love trucking, so that's me. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in my next one.